All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the SoCal AI Talks podcast, where we dive into the future of AI and how it's impacting small to medium businesses. I'm your host, Luis, and along with my partner, Edgar, we talk to business owners and entrepreneurs about their field of expertise. Today, we have Juan Moreno joining us, who's a real estate agent in the OC California market. Thank you for joining us, Juan.
Yeah,
Why don't we
pleasure to
start
be
off?
here.
Yeah, thank you. Why don't we start off by you telling us a little bit about yourself? And since it's a new month, tell us what you're looking forward to in June.
Well, I mean, we're basically at the mid-year, so yeah, it's definitely something to talk about. So my name is Juan. I'm a real estate agent here in Southern California. I operate mostly out of Orange County, but I do sales in Riverside, LA County. Kind of just depends on where my clients want me to go. But for the most part, my office is in Huntington Beach. I'm with First Team Real Estate, and I grew up in Costa Mesa, so I do a lot of marketing efforts here in Costa Mesa. And yeah, like I was saying, we are midway through the year, and it's time to look at my goals again and see where I'm falling off track and trying to get on track with the rest of the year and get my stuff together. Of
Great. Well, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you taking the time.
course.
Before we kick it off, we want to get to know you a little bit more. We want to just kind of know from you what led you into real estate. What's been the most rewarding aspect of it so far, and what does
Well,
the day look like for you?
okay. Yeah, I got into real estate back in 2018. I was working for, I was doing the corporate grind and, working the, 6 to sometimes 8 o'clock at night. And around that time in 2016, I had a baby, my daughter. And I was coming home and she was asleep most of the time when I got home, and I didn't really get to see her all day, and I would get to see her on the weekends and things like that. And during that time, there was some changes happening in the company I was working for as well. So they were starting to let go some people, and I decided to get my real estate license in case things went sideways. And fortunately or unfortunately, things didn't get sideways for me. Actually, I started getting my team started growing, and I started getting more opportunities there where I was, but I really wasn't really that happy. So I ended up quitting and jumping full time into real estate. And real estate is kind of it's a grind, dude. So it's like if you don't sell, then you don't eat. So you have to really go out there and get at it. Lucky for me and my wife was she's got a pretty good job, and she was working full time and holding it down on her end. So I was able to take the time to kind of ramp up and build things. But from a day-to-day perspective, I mean, I am pretty much every day 9 to 5. I usually wake up early. I take my kids to school starting at I wake up the kids at 6, and then I got to get them to school by 8 o'clock. So I do that, and once I get back home, I either work here from my home office, or I'm at my actual office in Huntington Beach. Either following up with clients, trying to figure out where my next leads are coming from and who's next, and trying to move people forward in my pipeline, things like that. And I try to get off every day by like 5 o'clock, and then I get to my other job, which is just helping the wife with the kids and all that stuff.
Hey, but that's why you got into it, right? Because now you get to spend time with them.
Yeah, sometimes I I have to think about whether I made the right decision or not.
So, Juan, we were looking at your recent posts, and one of your recent posts on your YouTube channel and Instagram mentioned the inventory in Orange County is on the rise. How do you see that impacting the pricing strategies in the next few months? You mentioned also we're halfway through the year.
Well, we do have this year we have like something like 70% more inventory on the market in Orange County, and it's something happening across the country, right? So more people are actually deciding to sell. And it, like, for a long time, people just didn't want to move. The rates are so high. People didn't want to get rid of their rates that were under the 3% that we had in 2021. So a lot of people, most people who have a house here in California and probably across the country, have a mortgage rate that is under 3%, and rates right now are in the 7% range, and they have been for the last 2 to 3 years. A
I had a
lot of people
question.
didn't.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I did have a question because in that video, in that same video, you mentioned that those interest rates are not actually impacted by the Fed cuts that are in the news, that they're actually impacted by the 10-year bond. So why was it that during COVID, a bunch of people were refinancing?
Well, what happened in COVID times was that the government decided that they needed to step in and protect the economy during that time to kind of keep things going. I think there was a lot of uncertainty during that time. They didn't really know what was going to happen. And so they stepped in, they started printing a lot of money. So when you put more money into the market, and in times of uncertainty, you start getting those the 10-year Treasury bond market, the yields on the 10-year Treasury drop, and the mortgage rates actually follow the 10-year Treasury bond market. And so during that time, that's why we had rates so low, because the government was in there printing money and manipulating the economy, and we had rates like we really haven't seen rates like that, and we probably will never see them again in our lifetimes.
So both the 10 bond rate fell and the Fed rate, I remember, was just being lowered.
Yeah. So
Every few months.
the Federal Reserve Bank controls the 10-year
The
term
banks
Fed rate.
borrow at. Yeah.
And that's it really affects your car loan. It affects your short-term rates. The 10-year Treasury bond market actually is affected by whether or not people are actually buying those bonds. And in terms of uncertainty, when you buy those bonds, it's like a safe haven, right? Because they pay you a steady rate, and people usually pull their money from the stock market, put it into the bonds, and usually the yield drops when that happens. And so during that time, the government was buying bonds, and so was other people, and so you had the rates drop really low. And those are not really controlled by the Fed. They're really more like sentiment in the economy and what the government's the Fed is actually, whether or not they're actually either quantitative easing, which is they're buying bonds and stuff, or quantitative tightening is that they're selling off the bonds, and that affects that. So I mean, it's a whole ball of wax, and I think most people don't really understand it.
Yeah.
Where people really focus on it is on those rates and whether or not they're low or high.
Yeah, like I said, I learned from that video.
Yeah. So along those same lines, what as far as like long-term trends go, what are you paying most attention to? Are you like paying most attention to interest rates, new construction?
Well, yeah. From a high-level perspective, I think from a bird's eye, just looking at the rates and what's going on with mortgage rates, and I also kind of just pay attention to what's going on like on the geopolitical stage and how those things are affecting our 10-year Treasury bond market. And there's a lot of other things that are going on that are kind of affecting the real estate market. But from a day to day, I mean, I think the most important thing to just look at is where we're headed and whether or not the government's going to continue to print money at some point. And I think they are, which means that the mortgage rates will have to fall at some time. And so I'm just keeping an eye for those rates. And I think there's a lot of people like on the sidelines trying to see whether or not they drop and whether or not they jump into the market.
Jump into the market as far as like buying or selling, or both?
Buying. I think that more people are deciding to sell right now.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are just kind of tired of waiting for the rates to drop, and life doesn't stop for anyone. People still have babies. There's a saying in real estate. It's like nothing's gonna stop death, diamonds, diapers, divorces. The 5 Ds or whatever. So those things will always happen, and people will always need real estate. So it's.
Did you say diamonds?
Yeah, people get married, they want to buy a house.
The diamonds.
People die, they gotta sell their house. Someone's gotta sell their house. People get divorced, they're probably gonna sell a house.
Probably gonna sell a house. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for that. Another question for you here, as far as so we noticed you're pretty active on social media and on LinkedIn, YouTube, and all that stuff, right? So, how has social media changed the way that you connect with buyers and sellers? Do you find that beneficial?
Yeah, I mean, I think in today's economy, if you're in business and you don't have a social presence, and you're pretty much toast. right? I mean, there's still a lot of people who are old school, like in my office, for example. There's people who've been doing business for years, 20 years, 30 years, and they're not really like on social and stuff, and they operate under a different like business like profile, I guess. Uh, um, and and so it works for them because they've been in business for a while. They've got like people who refer them business and stuff like that. But in the new economy, I mean, social media, AI, all that stuff is important.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, it helps when I'm connecting with my clients, because either if I have videos out there and I'm doing a listing presentation, people are going to search me. They're going to try to figure out who I am and whether or not I even know what I'm talking about. And sometimes that helps, putting some of that stuff out there.
So Juan, how do you decide what to focus on when you're educating your clients through social media? You touch on a broad range of topics in most of your videos. How do you make the decision of what to talk about?
Well, lately I've been playing around with different ways of like different, I guess, ideas of what to do. But for the most part, I'm doing like general, like market updates and what's going on in the economy. I mean, I think people are always out there looking at TikTok, looking at Facebook, and everybody out there is a bear, and they think the market's going to crash. And I just want people to kind of know the facts.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people out there that still, regardless, you can show them the way things are, and will say no, the market's is going to crash, and it's been crashing since I got into the real estate market, selling houses. Like people, oh no, I'm waiting till the market crashes. Okay, but if
And
you
you
look at
said,
houses, yeah, if you look at home values since World War II, it's like it's always up and to the right, and that's because it follows inflation, and so every year inflation is 2 to 3%. Then you have 2 to 3% appreciation in home values, and it never goes backwards. It's always going to go forward. So
I was going to go up, like you said, sideways too. So yeah, 2016 is when you started. So 9 years, you said, huh? 9 years, the market's been crashing.
yeah, and it probably has been crashing ever since then, before then too. So it's like, I think people always look for, if you're not in the market to buy, I think most people either like to kind of pretend they know what they're talking about, or they're just gonna, it's just one of those things where people kind of just either make things up, or use
Or
it
get the
as
wrong.
or use it as an excuse not to buy, because they're like afraid that people try to time the market all the time, and anytime you try to time anything that we have no control over, it's just never going to turn out well.
Yeah, there's that famous expression too, or a quote that says, "Don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait."
Exactly. It's not timing the market, it's time in the market, and that goes for pretty much anything, whether it's real estate, stocks, crypto, whatever.
Yeah. So how do you decide how often to post? I mean, I've noticed your last IG post was in January, and on YouTube, I haven't seen anything
Yeah.
for a few months.
It's like one of those things where, for me, dude, it's one of those things that's hard to keep up with, because I have
The content creation is it a time consuming?
yeah,
task?
I'm honestly like, I'm waiting for like HeyGen or something, like or Google to come up with something where I can just like say, hey, here's the script, make my video and post it for me. That'd be great.
Yeah. How much time do you think that would save you in a day?
It takes a lot, dude. It takes well, how much does it save? What was your question?
Yeah. How much time do you think it would save you, like in a day?
Dude, it takes a lot of time to make a video, because I'm not like, I don't have like a chip in my brain that just like can regurgitate all the information, and I'm always like messing up, and now I got to redo that, and I end up spending all this time trying to make it perfect, which I probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
And so it takes hours. It probably takes a day or two for me to like get it done and edit it and put up into Facebook
Wow.
or social media.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we see you're across all platforms. So nice job there. What are some other pain points that take up a lot of time, on that same subject? What are some other pain points that take, other tasks that take a lot of time of your day as a real estate agent?
I think like just marketing efforts, designing, like if I have, for example, like a farm where I'm gonna go and do some marketing, like I have to have like I have to have like flyers or the print media for me to kind of have conversations with people about like at their house or when I'm door knocking or whatever. So that part takes some time, although it's getting easier with some of these tools coming out where a lot of it's kind of like AI is helping you with some of that stuff. The other thing is just like following up with clients. I have a large database, making sure that I touch all the people in my database and things like that. Yeah, admin stuff.
Do you have a CRM system that you use through your agency or a personal one?
I have my own. I use a Follow Up Boss.
Okay.
Actually, my company just started paying for it, which is great. I used to pay like $130 a month.
Wow.
And so they're paying for it now. And yeah, Follow Up Boss, and I have a lot of other tools that I use to like keep in touch with people.
And you've mentioned AI several times throughout our conversation. How are you using AI now throughout your business?
I mean, I use it a lot. I'm not an expert on it by any means. I think it's so new that I'm trying to figure it out still, but I'm diving into it and trying to figure out how I can best implement it into my business. But I use it for like either from the simple things like property descriptions to more complex like negotiation tactics. And if I'm like if I'm struggling with like, hey, this is the situation, this is what I'm trying to get across. I'm like having a conversation with my buddy AI, and we're trying to figure it out together. Yeah, and so it works. It's a really powerful tool to have, in almost all situations. Like this morning, like someone like was being passive aggressive with me on an email. It's like ChatGPT, how do I passively aggressively say this but professionally?
Oh man.
So I didn't want to call her out right out, but I was still kind of like wanted to give her a little swipe.
That's fine.
So it's useful in most situations.
Yeah. It's got a lot of uses apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I'm like, my wife the other day, she was like, she sent me oh no, she's like, hey, can you print this out for me? I'm like, what is this? She's like, oh, I just had ChatGPT created. It was like a little tag that she found online. She took a picture of it with her camera, uploaded it to ChatGPT, and she's like, I need this, but in Spanish, and it recreated it exactly in Spanish.
Wow.
It looks great.
Yeah. Before you hopped on the call, I was telling Edgar, I'm like, hey, did you see that Google announcement where you can hop on videos now and it auto translates other languages, so you can anybody in the world now.
Yeah, I don't want to completely.
The person's mouth movements are correct. Yeah.
It's like there's, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Notebook LM. It's it's a Google one, and like basically you can make your own database and like searchable, like kind of like ChatGPT, but you can also upload, let's say like a report, and you can have it tell you about the report in a podcast form. So then you can pop it in you can say you're driving, you put it in your car and you're listening about, and there's two AI personalities having a conversation back and forth about the report.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, you guys should check it out.
We should. What was that called again?
It's called Notebook LM.
Notebook LM.
I've played with the Google notebooks on one of their trainings. Like they have a free AI training, and you get to play with their LLMs. So I thought that's what you were talking about, but it sounds
no. You should check that one out. It'll freak you out when you upload something to it. You can upload whatever you want, PDF, whatever, and then it'll figure out what it is. It'll understand it, and then you can either search like, hey, and it'll use that as a source, or it'll tell you all about it in a podcast, and it's like, hi, welcome to blah blah blah. We're gonna be reviewing this pod, and it's crazy. It's insane.
Yeah.
So along those same lines, Juan, along AI and things like that, are there any other processes that you would love to streamline? Like if you had the tools, if you had the proper AI tools, what would you love to streamline in your?
I don't know. I feel like I'm like if I could get somehow ChatGPT to connect to my CRM, which I don't know if that's possible. I think it may be possible, and have like them follow up, like say text message conversations with with some of those people in my database. Although I think follow up us does do that to some level, but just more of that like heavy lifting with the database in my account. Basically taking some things off of my plate so I can focus on other things.
Almost like a virtual assistant, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Would you say that that would be like the number one challenge, that if you could remove off your plate, that would be it? Or what would it be? What would be the one challenge that you could take off your plate?
Man, just lead generation really is it, right? So just finding the next buyer, the next seller. Following up is one thing, but just doing that, streamlining that. I do have like some systems in place that help me with some of that. Or like with some of the day-to-day like admin stuff that I have to do. I do have like a transaction coordinator that handles most of the paperwork for me. But yeah, it's something like that.
Would you
When
say
you're a
that?
salesperson, I think lead generation is probably the number one thing you're thinking about all the time.
Yeah. Would you say that that's something that other agents are struggling with as well, or is it unique to your setup?
No, I think most agents, like the number one thing they struggle with is lead generation. Lead gen knowledge for a lot of people too, but that's I think a separate conversation. But I think that either lead gen or like knowing how to do things basically. Yeah. I think also for a lot, like say agents that are already like established and they are getting some business. I think for some of them, just having a system in place to kind of like drive their day to day. I think some of those agents struggle with that. Like, what do I do next, or who should I call, or who should I market to, that kind of thing.
Gotcha. And would you say that usually your clients are more responsive to like video content or like in-person explanations?
I think that it just depends, and actually now that you mentioned that, I think that like the main thing I struggle with is creating content. Right. So like creating content. And I think a lot of agents struggle with that too, because they're shy. They don't want to get on camera, or they're like, have ADD like me and like, have like 1,000 things going on. So that, I think content generation, scripting, figuring stuff out like that. I think people like, they just really struggle with that.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good opportunity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I think we're up at our time here. So thanks again for taking the time to chat with us and share your insights. It's really valuable stuff. So we appreciate you coming on. So here's what's going to happen next. We're going to run this conversation through our AI systems, and it's going to analyze the discussion. It's going to see if there's any AI tools or solutions that can help your business. And once that's done, we're going to send you an analysis, and that'll be completely free as a thank you for joining us today on our podcast. And then also this episode is going to be up on our YouTube channel just in a few days. So yeah, so keep an eye out for that. So before we let you go, though, before we wrap up, we want to give you a minute to let our audience know how they can connect with you. Whether that's through your website or social media, or however you prefer to be reached.
Home address.
Yeah, actually, see if maybe I can. It doesn't work. It's too. You guys, the thing.
We started seeing WhatsApp thing. Yeah,
I was gonna do that for
That's
some
really
videos
cool.
that I do. So actually, yeah. So you can reach me at my cell phone number is 949-400-2287. You can call me, text me. You can also reach me on my email. It's jmoreno80@gmail.com, or you can check out my YouTube videos at the OC Agent, and that's the same for all social media platforms. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you guys today, and I look forward to connect with you guys again sometime.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Juan.
Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, guys.